What is up, most distinguished patrons? It's time for round two with this old welder, so let's get into it. So it's about 100 degrees in here and I'm just sweating like you wouldn't believe. I apologize for it. Anyways, it's time to do a round two on this machine here. Off camera, I replaced the end of the cord, and then I also redid all of the wiring for the power cord to this power switch internally because it was all pretty much electrical taped together with really bad shape of wiring, to say the least. I am happy to report, as far as I can tell visually at this point, there's no way for the angry pixies to escape the power cord or internally. I will be honest and say I'm a little bit hesitant flipping the power switch on this sucker on because of that old capacitor and the fact this hasn't run in probably 20 years, that there may be a minor explosion of sorts when I turn it on, but maybe not. We'll find out, right? Anyways, a couple updates on what this machine might be. There are a lot of comments, and most of you guys kind of agreed with me that it's probably a Westinghouse. However, a couple people had commented that this was an Allis Chalmers welder. Now, that's new to me because Allis Chalmers, as far as I knew, never made welders or never had their name on a welder. And so I did some digging on that, and I was successful in finding square welders that were branded as Allis Chalmers, possibly made by them in a factory, which, by the way, here in Milwaukee, where I live, the factory's only about a 7-mile or so distance from where I live. The factory itself, most of it doesn't really exist anymore. They bulldozed it, but some of it does, so it's kind of a landmark of sorts around here. Anyways, the welders that they previously produced that are well known to be Allis Chalmers, which again, that's news to me that they ever produced a welder, look internally similar to this machine. Their transformers and how they adjust amperage are very similar. They have porthole windows in the top to read amperage. The problem is that I have no documentation or any real evidence that shows this particular welder as being an Allis Chalmers. So like manual, salesman sample, article in a newspaper, the only thing linking this besides visually internally it looks similar to a different Allis Chalmers welder is a single post to a tractor group forum that no longer exists. We only have a screenshot, which I'll put up now. Based on the totality of circumstances, I would tend to believe that this is indeed an Allis Chalmers welder, as in the tractor company that produced a lot of different things, both during World War II and after, that they actually built this or at least slapped their name on it. So that's pretty cool. These may have been, keyword may have been, manufactured right in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Therefore, if this was in a factory somewhere, be it the Allis Chalmers factory or somewhere else, it would make sense that it would be found in this location. If I had to take a guess, these things might not have been produced for the market. Maybe they were test runs. Now, when it comes to weight on this bastard, I gotta say, it's far heavier than I thought. I knew this sucker was heavy when I first lifted it into the passenger seat of my rental car and almost died, and then almost died getting it out. And I figured somewhere around 150 to 170 pounds because, I mean, let's be honest, anything over 170 pounds for a 180 amp arc welder is pretty ludicrous. Well, I hate to say it, but it's actually even more than that by a lot. And I'll put up a video now of me weighing this. Well, a moment of truth. This thing is floating here as high as I could get it with this janky setup. Let's see what this 180 amp welder actually weighs. It bounces between 215 and 200.22. 215 pounds. I did calibrate it for the straps, so it's somewhere right around 215 pounds. Unfreaking believably heavy. I can't even believe it's that heavy. I don't know how I got it in the passenger seat of my car. Well, somebody's going to win a set of gloves. And that winner is OK Nave 327. He was only 3 pounds off on his guess, and I'm sure he probably thought he was going to be on the high side, as I did, because I thought it was around 170. If this is you, please contact me at the contact information on the screen. And keep in mind, don't try and pull my leg. I will verify that it's actually you. In the past, I've had some people try and do some false claims. So guess what? I will verify, so don't even waste your time doing that. If this individual doesn't claim it within 2 weeks, then I'll give a set of gloves away to the next in line, next closest guess. Anyways, thanks for playing. So as you saw, this thing is one heavy SOB. I can't even stress how heavy this is because I had to put it into my truck on the passenger seat because it would have rolled around the bed and then take it out to get it into this tin shed here today. And I'm telling you, I got a workout from hell. So if you have dreams of being a mobile welder with this, good luck, pal. With all that said, I think it's time to plug this thing in and turn it on and see, hopefully that capacitor doesn't immediately blow up and hopefully the breaker doesn't immediately trip. So let's do that. Well, the fact that it hasn't immediately blown up is a good sign. I'm going to go get the test leads for it and we're going to do a test weld. I do find it interesting. This thing's really quiet. I don't hear it buzzing over the generator anyways. So this thing is powered on. Let's take a look at what its resting open circuit voltage is. 57.5. That's pretty interesting. Most stick welders of this era would be up in the 80s to 100 volts. So the way that this is set up, and maybe it has something to do with that capacitor in there, is the voltage is a little bit less. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. It'll probably be a little bit harder to strike an arc with this unit than maybe a buzz box of the same vintage. But let's take a look. So I got the machine set for 60 amps. Let's see how close to accurate it is. So part of the reason the meter is inaccurate could be because this welder originally was designed to run on actual 220 volts and not the 240 plus that it's on right now. With higher input voltage, the amperage will effectively be higher than the set point, and that's my guess as to what's going on. For a laminated core welder, this thing is the quietest buzz box I've ever heard. I think it's because the core is bolted together, which reduces the vibrations. That's why all them old buzzbox welders make such a buzzing noise. You can hear it in the AC arc, a little bit of buzz, but the core itself of the transformer is dead quiet almost. Not too bad for about 97 to 100 amps with a 1/8 inch or 3.2 millimeter 6013. This thing runs rods pretty decent. So I did a bunch of test welds here, and I gotta say with 7014 6013, it actually welds really good. No real complaints from the welding arc. Unfortunately, as I suspected, it's a little bit hard to start an arc with it. The fact that it has lower open circuit voltage at the start makes it a little bit rougher to start a rod, and likely due to the power factor correction capacitor in it, I think that also plays a role. Now, I'm not an electrical engineer, but I can tell you when it comes to designing welders in the 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of compromises had to be made. This machine, honestly, I think was designed to output like well over 100 amps for almost an indefinite duty cycle, say like 120, 140 amps, and it probably runs a lot better at that output level. When you're running small little rods, not really the best. Case in point, it didn't run 7018 at all. I couldn't get it started. Now the rod I was using, which is a Hobart rod, tends to start rough anyways, but this is a no-go with 7018, but 6013 runs good, 7014 runs good, 6011 presumably would run okay. I didn't happen to have any, and I just realized I had a 6010 here I grabbed by accident. I should have tried that. My guess is it probably would run 6010. I know it'll run 6011. Keep in mind, 6010 was designed to run on DC positive, not AC. So anyways, let's talk about the results here. So with 7014 2.4 mil rods or 332 rods, input voltage, aka the generator this is running on, 246 volts. The amperage that the breaker saw was about 10.8 amps under load, which is pretty good, honestly. And that is because it has power factor correction. Now, its power factor correction consists of a singular capacitor, which does work, but it's going to vary how much it's effective at depending on the output level. In the case of the 332, it was about 0.80. 0.80 is actually very high. A typical tombstone or transformer-based welder is going to be around a 0.50 or lower. In a nutshell, this will run far better on a generator. And I can tell you right now, I was able to achieve 90 amps with 6013 with this, and I only saw a breaker loading of about 15.64 amps, which that is exceptionally low. My Dial-Arc 250, my big Miller, was tripping breakers, 30 amp breakers at 90 amps output. So this is way better to run on a generator. The C stands for consumption. This device actually consumed 2006 watts, which isn't really that bad, all things considered. Power factor was 0.80, and this is at a 70 amp output. These are all the factors on the input side. The output of the welder, we saw 6970 amps, 26 volts while welding, which is a total of 1,794 watts. So we can calculate out its efficiency if we know what it's actually consuming, corrected for its power factor, along with the wattage that it's outputting. And our efficiency is about, we'll call it 88, 89%. So if you were to hook this machine up to your wall and run a rod at 70 amps, like 7014, it's actually 88% efficient at turning input power into output power, which is really good. I would say that's probably at least 8% higher than a majority of the transformer welders out there that are purely transformers. So the fact that this doesn't have a fan in it isn't too worrisome. I know some people in the comments in the previous video said, wow, it doesn't have a fan. Well, considering it's only burning up 12% in the form of heat, so you have heat loss from the copper heating up, you have heat loss from the core dissipating heat, you have heat loss from the core plates vibrating. So 12% of the input wattage is lost in the form of heat or otherwise in the transformer itself. So does this need a fan? I think this would last probably indefinitely at lower output levels, 120 amps and below, without any doubt, without a fan. It's pretty efficient. So 6013 1/8-inch rods, 3.2 millimeter. Again, same input voltage, 246 volts. Amperage, 15.64. So this is only about half my generator's breakers rating. So that's actually really good. 15.64 amps is all the breaker sees. Consumption 2,500 watts to output 94 amps at 22 volts, 2,068 watts. So the efficiency of this is around 83%. As the amperage goes up with this, it's likely losing more to the form of heat and just losses in a transformer. Power factor on that was 0.69. And again, this device, because it doesn't have like an active power factor correction, basically, depending on what the output level is going to vary how efficient and what the power factor is. And likely it will become less efficient as the amperage goes up with the way that this is designed. So what are my final thoughts on this welder? Well, I gotta say, it actually welds really good. It's super efficient, all things considered. and it's very easy to adjust amperage. I mean, for its time in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe a little bit newer than that, this thing would have been far ahead of its time, especially compared to the competition. I don't know what the duty cycle is, but based on the way that this is designed, even though it doesn't have a fan, I have no doubt you could probably weld with this all day at 90 to 120 amps and it really wouldn't care. Now, with that said, given its age being well over 60, 70 years at this point, how reliable will this be if you were to try to do that today? Well, less so, simply due to the age and deterioration of the components and the wire sheath and all of that. But given the option of this or a Tombstone or some other transformer-based welder from similar vintage, I would take this any day over any of those. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not really sure what the deal is with this, if this was like a prototype or factory use. I mean, you would think if this was a factory use, it would have been wired for three-phase and not single-phase. This was never designed to be a three-phase welder based on all of the internal transformer wiring, the switch. It never had that option. So this was clearly made for 220, 240 volt systems and not three-phase. There can't be very many of these in existence that were ever made, and I think the reason is pretty simple. The cost of making this had to have been a lot higher than competing products out there. Case in point, I got a Tombstone over there, and it outputs more amperage than this. Granted, it's less efficient and has very poor power factor, and you can't like dial adjust it for minute amperage changes. You're stuck to like fixed amperages, but that is only 90 pounds, which is heavy in itself, but it's under half of what this weighs. A third of the materials likely, especially copper, and it would have been far cheaper to manufacture, simpler overall. I mean, not that there's a lot that can go wrong with this, but I think it just lost out simply because as great of a design as it is, it's just too costly to manufacture, too heavy, and just more efficient designs, and not so much from electrically speaking, but from size, weight, etc. just existed, and this was one of the relics that didn't make it out of the evolution of welders, unfortunately. With that said, this isn't going to be the last time you see this sucker. I actually have a plan to AC TIG weld with this, which is possible, although not with it as you see it here. I need to run a high frequency box with this in order to produce a pilot arc to keep the arc lit. I remember watching videos of on other channels where guys take old welders, AC welders like this, try and TIG weld with them, and it doesn't work. And they don't realize that the reason it doesn't work is you need a pilot arc. So I already have a setup that will work for that. I just need to find the time to get it all set up, and I'm going to do some AC TIG welding with this, which it'll work. Is it ideal? Definitely not, but it's kind of cool just to say I did it, I guess. But anyways, if you got any thoughts, comments, questions on this thing, feel free to leave them. Otherwise, until next time.